Hey guys, so kind of a little bit of an impromptu video here. I had planned to make dill relish from the cucumbers I've been harvesting from the garden. Wasn't going to film it because it was just going to be a quick small batch. But then I went to the farmer's market today and got a huge box of apricots. Here, let me see if I can show you. Huge box of apricots. It's a really good deal. They're fresh, they're local. So I snatched them up and I want to make some jam with them, and it needs to happen pretty quickly. They're ripe, like they need to be used right away. So I thought I might bring you along for both of those things now. Okay, so I actually started already with the cucumbers because they had to sit overnight in water, cold water in the fridge. So there's cucumbers, onions, peppers, and that's it in here. So this is sat overnight, and so we will start with this guy. Okay, so first things first, this actually needs to get drained and rinsed because this sat with, there was also salt in this. And so let's get that done, and then I want to get the vinegar mixture on the stove to start heating up, and then we will get these in the food processor to get chopped finely. I'm not actually sure what the purpose of the overnight soak is, but I know that my recipe actually came from my grandmother for bread and butter pickles also has you soak the cucumbers overnight in an ice bath. And I will say it does make a pretty big difference to the flavor and texture of the pickles. So, not sure why it would make much of a difference with a relish, but I haven't made a relish in a really long time, and I don't remember the recipe I used last time. I actually think I might have made it up. So we will go with the recipe. Wow, I put a lot of ice cubes in here apparently. I did actually, I just saw it, reminded me, I actually did put a single jalapeno in there as well, just because I happen to have one that I just picked from the garden, so I threw it in. We like a little bit of spice in our stuff, so maybe it will add spice, maybe not. All right, I'm gonna get my vinegar mixture started now. All right, 3 cups of vinegar. I'm gonna put about half of these in this mixture, in the vinegar mixture to cook with it, and the other half I'm gonna grind up with the cucumbers. So there's actually some garlic in the final product as well. I picked my garlic today. Got 107 heads. Very excited. And you will see that, or you may have already seen it, depending which order these go in. But that garlic is not ready. It still needs to cure for probably about 2 weeks. All right, this is gonna go in with the cucumbers. I'm going to plop these dill heads in there. And you could absolutely, as the recipe calls for, just use dill seed. But since I have all of this fresh dill, I might as well use it. All right, mustard seed, celery seed, which my container is empty, so we will fill it up. All right, and that can go away. All right, we need 1 tablespoon of mustard seed and 2 teaspoons of celery seed. So I need to get more measuring spoons. Teaspoons of celery seeds. And tablespoon of mustard seeds. I'm gonna need to stock up on mustard seeds probably. I foresee doing quite a few pickles. My cucumbers are just going crazy. Oh, you might have noticed too, I have tomatoes starting, and here on my counter or my windowsill, so they are starting to ripen and come on, which is very exciting. I was pretty sure that I was not going to get any warm weather crops at all, so it's fun to start getting peppers and the tomatoes. It's very exciting. All right, let's get the heat on this. Just have it low for a bit. Oh, we need turmeric still. All right, half a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm sure that this really doesn't have anything to do with flavoring. It's mostly just for color. Because a half teaspoon of turmeric is not going to impart much flavor to 3 cups of vinegar. Let's get that guy put away and give this a good stir. Look inside the pot here. So yeah, that's what it looks like. You may be wondering why I'm using such a big pot. It kind of looks ridiculous to have such a small amount of liquid in the bottom, but you actually add in all of the cucumbers and peppers and let it cook a minute in the, goodness gracious, what is this called? Brine, in the brine, it's a brine. In the brine before you jar it up. All right, so let's get the cucumbers ground up. All right, move the eggs out of the way. I know there's a lot of people out there that like to have their counters be clean and not have everything sitting out. Clearly, I'm not one of those people. I have all of my appliances sitting out. I just find I don't use them if they're sitting in cupboards. And if I'm not using them, why would I have them? But if I have them out on my counter, I actually do use them quite a bit. So that's why I leave them out. All right, just get these guys in here. I'm gonna have to do a couple dashes. Oh, and I'm making a mess. All right, lid. And we're just gonna pull this. I don't want it to turn into like a mud. One scrape should do it. It smells so nice and fresh. All right, that all looks pretty uniform in size and relish-like. So let's scrape it out and get it into the pot. Actually, I think I'm probably going to wait a bit to put it into the pot. Because I still need to clean all of the jars and get the canner going. I'm going to use my electric canner. It's mostly for pressure canning, but you can water bath can in it. And it doesn't heat up the house nearly as much as a huge canning pot full of boiling water. Okay, so there we go. Doesn't that look pretty? All the colors. Actually, that's one of the reasons that I didn't want to peel my cucumbers is I like that contrasting darker green, and the skins are not tough or anything, so no reason not to include them. All right, since I'm done with all of this, I'm gonna get some of it cleaned up and out of my way so I can use all of this space for jars. Absolutely could put this in the dishwasher, but you'll notice that I hand wash a lot of things. We actually hand wash our dishes most of the time because it's just the two of us, and like we don't have enough plates and silverware to last till the dishwasher is full. So it's just easier to wash them by hand and put them away. So it's just habit. Although typically when I'm doing kind of a big cooking day, I do use the dishwasher. All right, jars. I'm sure I'm not going to need all of these, but I wanted to make sure I had enough up here. I'm going to use these little half pint jars for the jam, because I think probably I'll end up giving a lot away as gifts. And then I'll use the wide mouth quart jars for the relish. But these are all very dirty, so they need a good cleaning. I'm actually going to store these jars in my oven on the keep warm setting because I'm going to be putting hot liquid and product in them and then into a hot canner, and we don't want to stress them out and break them. I have had that happen several times. Whew, okay. This needs a good wipe down. I have several of my kind of big preserving appliances in the garage, and David is a woodworker, so everything gets covered with a fine dusting of sawdust. And you may notice that I didn't say I was going to sterilize the jars. It's accepted practice now, approved practice, that you don't need to sterilize jars. They get sterilized when they go through the canning process. So just as long as they're clean and warm, if you're going to be putting hot liquids in them and into a hot canner. Although it is interesting, you definitely will find recipes that do still call for it, including this recipe that I'm using. She does say to put it into sterilized jars, but there just isn't the need for that anymore. Right, get some water in this pan. It will need to cover the jars, so it'll have to be quite a bit of water. So I'll probably partially fill it and then fill it with a pitcher the rest of the way. Okay, so I decided that I do actually want dill flavor in this, and since I don't have any dill seed, because I haven't let any of it go to seed yet, I'm just going to break up some of the heads of these fresh dill. Well, it's dried now. In here, try not to get the stems, so that it has dill in the canning jar with it as well. Because you are supposed to wait, a couple weeks before you start using this to allow the flavors to really come together and have its full potency. All right, we are simmering away. I'm actually going to pull out the dill heads and the garlic now, because we don't want them to go into the relish. Easier to fish them out now, but I'm going to leave the celery seeds and mustard seed for as much. Get this in here. Okay, so we are just going to let this come up to a simmer again, and then ladle it into our jars and into the canner. Okay, I am gonna give this a quick taste test, even though it's not gonna really be what it tastes like once it has sat in the jars for a while, but this should give you at least a good idea if it's like seriously missing something. No, I think that'll be great. I mean, it definitely needs time for the dill to like do its thing, but I think it will be super tasty. All right, let's get this a little bit closer here. And we can fill them, take out any stems that I come across. We want to fill them to a 1/4 inch headspace. And then I like to take, this is probably a little too full, but I am going to debubble it here, and that might cause it to lower enough. I'm just using a clean chopstick for this. And this handy dandy little thing measures the headspace for you. So this one is a 1/4 inch. And we have plenty of space, actually. I could fill it, probably put that spoonful back in. But. Right, now we are just going to take a damp cloth and wipe around the edges. Make sure there's nothing left on there that could hinder the seal. Since there's no sugar in this, I'm not using vinegar. I would if there was sugar or something that had a lot of fat in it. But I think water is just fine for this. All right, and we've got our lids here, nice and piping hot. And you just want them fingertip tight, so you don't want to crank them down. Just what you can literally screw with your fingers, not using your wrist at all. All right, and these are going to go in the canner. All right, since the water is not covering it, I am going to add enough. Oh, I need to add even more. All right, and then we're going to let the canner come up to temperature. And will come up to a boil. And once it's boiling, I will set a timer for 10 minutes and then we will be done. Okay, so now we have a very large box of apricots that we need to get taken care of. First things first, probably should get them washed. And then I will start pitting. I will not make you sit through me pitting all 22 pounds of these, but I'll show you a few. They should be really easy. The one that I ate, it just opens right up, pops out. So should be quick and easy. I don't think I'm gonna make all of this into jam. I think probably I will experiment with freeze drying some of it. And then maybe even just drying, because I do love dried apricots too. All right. Let's get them washed. Well guys, there they are out of the canner. They still look beautiful. The colors are just gorgeous. So 4 full pints, and then I don't remember how big that tall one is. It's less than a pint, but almost 5 pints from 3.5 pounds of cucumbers. And I did actually remember last minute that my elevation needed to be taken into consideration. So I actually processed this for 20 minutes instead of 10. Added 10 for the 5,000 feet that we are at. All right, apricots. All right, so here we have a big pile of apricots. I did not wash them all yet. I feel like they'll keep a little bit longer if I don't wash them all. And I just need 4 pounds for the jam. So I don't even think I need a knife for this. Nope, look at that. Beautiful. So this recipe that I found doesn't use very much sugar, and it uses no pectin. It uses lemon juice instead. And I just prefer to not have a bunch of sugar in my jams. First of all, I can't eat a lot of sugar. It makes me sick. But I also just, I don't know, lose some of the flavor of the fruit, I think. So this one only calls for, I believe it was 2 cups of sugar for 4 pounds of fruit. And that is something I can live with. She did throw in some that had some bad spots, so I'll just cut those out when I come across them. And give them to the chickens. Okay, so this recipe calls for you to macerate the fruit with the sugar for several hours, preferably even overnight. So we might pick this up tomorrow and finish it off just to give it lots of time to get all the juices out. So for now, I'm just going to cut these into some smaller pieces. Don't really need to, but just so there's more surface area for the sugar to react with, and then we'll put it in the fridge overnight. All right, adding the sugar in. This is a 1/2 cup measure, so we'll do 4 of these. I'll have to look up exactly what it is, but normally with jam, I mean, I can recall putting 6 to 8 cups of sugar in jam, so even though 2 cups seems like a lot, it is not for jam, not even close. All right, let me grab a spoon and we'll get this mixed up. Covered and in the fridge. All right. And doing this just brings out all the juice in them. Apricots don't tend to be real juicy just on their own, so this will pull out the juices even better than if I just put them on the stove and cooked them right now. All right, so we will come back at this tomorrow afternoon probably. All right, see you then.